In a world torn apart by nuclear war and evil forces, one man must rise to the challenge to save the United Cities of Celeria. Follow the journey of Ashton Jace, a former Special Operations Intelligence Sergeant in the explosive post-apocalyptic techo thriller, The United Cities of Celeria. Ashton, also known as the Ghost, was born and raised in a secret society of assassins, and now he's the greatest Special Forces soldier of all time. But when an EMP attack leaves the United Cities of Celeria in complete darkness and serial killers are after him, Ashton's mission becomes even more challenging. With multiple points of view and heavy on plot and character building, the United Cities of Celeria will keep you on the edge of your seat. Follow Ashton and his friends as they fight for survival and face evil forces beyond imagination. Will Ashton be able to save the world before the serial killers end his life? Will newly sworn in President Monique Maddox be able to put the government back together and rescue survivors? Find out in the United Cities of Celeria. Available now in all major bookstores and online retailers. Get your copy of the United Cities of Celeria, the explosive post-apocalyptic techo thriller today. Don't miss out on the action-packed and heart-pumping story of the United Cities of Celeria, a 4-book series that will take you on a thrilling ride through a post-apocalyptic world. Join Ashton the Ghost Jace and his team as they fight against evil forces that threaten the survival of humanity. Hit your copy today and experience the gripping tale of survival, sacrifice, and redemption that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Take action now and get ready to be inspired by the courage and determination of the Ghost and his team.
Woo! All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the virtual tour of the Celerian verse. Celeria is at war. I don't know about y'all, but I'm excited for this book to drop. I am excited. If you are in a position to, we would love to see your beautiful, wonderful, smiling, shining faces and see the energy that's flowing off of your gloriousness on this evening. We thank you all for joining us, and thank you all so much for being a part of the Celerian verse. And you heard me say it right, the Celerian verse, Salerian verse. All right. I'm not going to be before you long. I'm going to present to you the master of this evening, the writer, the educator, the creator, the innovator, the one, the only, always imitated, but will never be duplicated, Mr. Antonio T. Smith Jr.
All right. Thank y'all so much for being here. I'm excited, and the future is bright. There are 40-something books coming out, and this would be the first virtual book tour, or first book tour of anything now novellic from me. The introduction should last 5 minutes. I will make it last 30 seconds. My name is Antonio T. Smith Jr. You know who I am, and it's about to go down. I made it last 5 seconds instead of 30 seconds. Announcement period, in which I would love to answer to you now. Inside this announcement period, I want you to know that the book is on sale now. That link should be somewhere in the chat already. You can pre-order the book, hardback and paper copy from it. It'll be in Walmart and all respective bookstores. So please be ready for that. In addition to that, if we have time, I'm trying to make time, we're going to read 4 chapters of the book today. Yes, we're going to read 4 chapters of the book, the prologue, and 3 chapters. We may get to the prologue and 2 chapters, as the book is a real novel. So Grace, it's not necessarily 2 seconds long. You understand? Each chapter is about 30 minutes to read. You understand? We rinsed around and rinsed it off the best way that we could. So there is some stuff. We're going to release some fun facts for you as well today. So please be ready for fun facts. As you can actually, there's a bunch of fun facts about the book. I think it's been 5 total released. There's something like 105 of the fun facts that will be released as time goes by. They are actual fun facts about the book, things that people just absolutely wouldn't know. So I'm actually excited about that. In the meantime, we're also going to do a writing workshop about doing some villains and things like that, plus Q&A. Now, let's move into the Q&A now because I'm moving fast. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to be in the Q&A 10 minutes from now. I got all this time, but I am 7 minutes ahead, Grace. I'm going to kind of stay that way because I want the book to be. Deanna, you read the book. You're the only person on the call. You and Melissa, excuse me. You and the publisher have read the book.
Yes, sir.
So let's have the question. One question from you, one question from our publisher as well. And then we'll see if more questions apropos from said phone call. Go ahead. Any question?
In reading this wonderful, amazing fiction book from you, because I've read the nonfiction, I've read the help, I've read the self-help, I've read the business, but for this one in particular, every single character seems to have some aspect of Antonio in it. Was that intentional, or did it in your writing, did it just flow out that way?
No, it was very intentional. Every single character, every single major character is me, 100% me. It was actually therapeutic. I got to write about a bunch of my top secret cases that I did for the United States military. And I got to write about a bunch of declassified things. I did not put anything top secret in there because I don't want to go to jail for 72 years in Fort Leavenworth. So I didn't feel like doing that. Grace, that doesn't make sense at all. Law, you're looking like a chocolate drop in satin and silk. Yes, continue to get work. Yeah, once you're gonna say stuff so they can see you on camera, Law. They got to see this. They got to see because this is running live right after this.
Hello, my beautiful people. How's everyone doing?
He never disappoints, Trinace. He never disappoints. Never disappoints. You just wait. You just wait. Speaking of, I've ran. It's the 5th day of the month. I've ran almost 8 miles already in this month, and good to see my brother Phil out here. Phil has been doing push-ups, doing commercial breaks, and we've been happy about that. All of the personalities are me. Every last one of them have a bit of me. It's therapeutic. I was going through some stuff that I needed to get out my system, and I used it as therapy to get rid of my PTSD too. Will you know what I actually did? Nope. Will you know what missions I actually did? Nope. I can tell you this though. If you want to know what I actually did in the United States military, look for things that have a lot of description. If you see some stuff that goes, wait a minute, that's just a lot of detail. I was probably describing an actual event in which I was there. Okay, Deanna, you look like you had another question.
I do have another question. Why Cities of Celeria and why now?
It took me 7 years. Actually, 2012, what's that? 2012? That's 11 years. It took me 11 years to write this book because I was struggling with dialogue. I didn't know the syntax of making dialogue work together. I didn't understand the how to make a dialogue good. And then after I actually mastered fight scenes first. I mastered how to do a fight scene first, both blow by blow, which doesn't really, sometimes it works out in the book, most times it does not work out in the book. Your readers will really need blow by blow, but sometimes you'll see me break that mold and I will do blow by blow, but it's serving a purpose. And then other times you'll see me do not blow by blow. I'm trying not to give too much away. So I know how to do fight scenes first, but it took me 11 years to master writing dialogue. And then in that 11th year, the 11th hour, that was for Grace, don't worry about it. In the 9th hour, that was for Grace, don't worry about it, y'all. That's a Baptist thing, don't worry about it. And in the 11th hour, Grace, I learned how to do points of view. I'm really, really good at withholding information from my reader through points of view and revealing things about the world through points of view. And that's important because you don't have a book without dialogue. The first draft of the book was garbage. The second draft of the book was garbage. The third draft of the book was really good. It really was. The fourth draft of the book was fantastic. And the fifth draft of the book is going to make Melissa a gazillionaire. That's our publisher, by the way. So there you go. I wrote the book 5 different times to get this across. So that's her question. Grace, Melissa, did you have a question as we come back to?
Actually, you already answered it.
Oh, what was the question?
It was, why did you write this book?
It was very therapeutic. Yes. And let me stress this clearly. The cities of Celeria, 1, 2, 3, and 4 was me getting rid of my own PTSD. This was very therapeutic. I wrote this book while in therapy for all the combat related trauma that I have. And it was exactly that. Grace, did you have a question? You don't have you don't have to. You don't have to. Y'all gonna have plenty of questions after this. Don't worry about it. Just not the second one, you're gonna have plenty of questions.
Okay. I'll wait.
You'll wait.
I'll wait.
Good. All right then. But that's it. So I'm gonna end the Q&A right here. And right now, Grace, I am 50 minutes ahead. You hear me, cuz?
Wait. I do have a question.
I'm 35 minutes ahead. Go ahead.
Who or what inspired you to write this? I know it was,
That's a good
therapeutic.
All right, that's a good question. That's a good question, Grace.
Because you about self-help and business. We wait a minute, Antonio
so those are 2 good
apocalyptic
questions.
thriller,
No, those are 2 good questions. All right, those are 2 good questions. Now, so let me answer the second one because that's the fastest one to answer. The second one is I ran out of things to say in business. I mean, I gave y'all Richest Man Trash Can, and then I gave you Sorry I'm Streaming. What else I'm gonna say? Like the whole Chat GPT was predicted in Sorry I'm Streaming, period. It really was. I did not know it would be called Chat GPT, but I told you in Richest Man Trash Can and Sorry I'm Streaming that you wouldn't have no job no more. And that the internet was your last chance to get rich. And that artificial intelligence was going to do. I did. So I don't have anything else to say no more in business. But Grace, to your first question, why did I write this book? This book really came alive between the 4th, and the 5th draft. That means 4 written books were done. 4 versions of this book were done. And then on September 11th, I got a call from the hospital. My mother was in the hospital. Now, for those of you who don't know my story, I'm 41 years old. I spent 41 years without my mother. No disrespect to her. She's deceased now. She just died November 13th, 2022. And September 16th, I pick her up and I introduce her to her grandkids for the first time. She'd never seen them. She had a good time, and she spent hospice, had stage 4 lung cancer. She spent hospice here with me on the east wing of the house, having a good time. And she would wonder why she watched Matlock and Joel Osteen all day. I can't make that up. I cannot make that up. Matlock and Joel Osteen all day. That's what she would do.
Because they do come on all day.
They do come on all day, especially on Pluto TV.
Yes.
Come on Pluto and YouTube. They come on all day. They really do. And I would kind of sneak away in the back because she took her final resting 56 days in my computer programming spot. So I couldn't computer program no more. So I would sneak across to the washroom, which is about 30 feet away from her. I sneak to the washroom and I'd start writing. And I began to write the United Citizen Celebrity. This is all I could do. I couldn't show up to the meeting. I couldn't show up to my company for 2 months. I couldn't do nothing. I just sat there and write. And one day she said, "What you doing back there, son?" My mother has a very strong personality. And then she said, I said, well, Mom, I'm writing the book. Now I don't know how the hell she heard that she was in the book. I'm not sure how she heard that. And the book was about her. But 2 days later, when she asked again, you finished that book about me, son? That's what she said. And I didn't know then it changed my life. Like here she is dying with lung cancer. Now, of course, she don't look like she died because she's a fiery gangster. She's a fiery gangster eating chocolate ice cream and pancakes at 10 o'clock at night. So she getting everything she want, Law. You understand what I'm saying? She getting everything she want. She don't have any visible signs of dying, but the body does what the body does. And I had no idea that affected me, Grace. But one day I walk outside. I couldn't drive either. I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave it alone for more than 10 minutes. And those of you who had a dying parent or somebody, hospice, you would understand. Couldn't leave them alone for 10 minutes. And she said, and she started saying, you finished that book about me, son? Where you at? She go, Tony. That's what she called me. That's exactly the tone she do it. That's what I just did. Exactly what she did. I said, yes, ma'am. Where you at, son? And I say, oh, I'm doing the book. Oh, you finished about me yet? And so this is the honest to God truth. This is honest to God truth that I want to take my time with this answer. So what happens in this, you know what? I might do that, cuz I might, if you come back, I might reveal that. But anyway, let me keep going. In this here, I start saying, I should put her in this damn book. I should put her in this book. And sure enough, Law, she makes her introduction in chapter 8 of the book. She does. She's a white lady, though. I made her a white lady. She's a white lady. I made my black mother a white lady. She's a white lady with a black attitude. I kid you not. All of you listen as you read. When you get to chapter 8, you're going to meet Mama Linda. That's my mama. My mama's real name was Linda Faye McAllister Smith. And when you meet her, Mama Linda is an old white lady with a black attitude. You hear me? She's you don't worry about it. You'll find out. You'll find out when you get there. I tell you what I'll do is, if you stay on this call, I will surprise you and debut that chapter way before it should be. If you stay on this call, this is your first lesson in suspense. If you stay, I'll let you hear that chapter and how she's introduced. If you stay, but we'll see. We'll see if that work out. There you go, Grace. Long answer to your question, but that was supposed to take a little time. You hear me? That was supposed to take a little time. We're supposed to reach around. Yeah. Good question. Go ahead, Law.
Yes, my question is, seen as this helped with your PST, I'm mixing it up. PSTD. There you go.
It's something like it.
Would
It's like when I
you?
mix up LGBTQIA, you know what I'm saying?
There's a
mix
lot
it
of
up
letters
too.
in there. Is this a therapy that you would recommend to your fellow vets who are struggling with it? Would you recommend going on this journey of maybe writing something and getting those experiences out of them?
100%, I do recommend it, but I do need to caveat that statement because I left out, I was also with a therapist at a time I wasn't doing cognitive behavior therapy. I was doing processing behavior therapy, which is kind of like, it's processing behavior therapy is when processing cognitive therapy, I think is what it's called, is when you literally attack your trauma, not the root of your trauma. You attack your trauma head on and you change the story about your trauma. So I was writing this book while going through 16 weeks of processing therapy. I forget what it's called. Processing behavior therapy, I believe is what it's called. So yes, Laura is correct. Yes, it was therapeutic, but it was also therapeutic because it was a help aid with an actual therapist. Actual therapist. So don't let me Don't let me have y'all replacing therapy with writing a book. Did you hear me? Especially.
Okay, well said.
Oh, all right then. Especially my melanated folk. You know, therapy is taboo where we come from. I only need Jesus. Well, you know what? You know, Mrs. Clark with them degrees behind her name. You can use her too. You can use her too. She can help you on Earth. You know, she can help you on Earth. There you go. Good. Good. All right. So I'm gonna end this part of the Q&A session because I'm way ahead.
Okay, because there was one last question in the chat.
Don't give me one last question. I'm not even looking at chat.
Someone asked, who is your favorite character in your book and why?
What a great question. My favorite character in the book is Jacob, but you don't meet him until chapter 8. He's just so much fun. Jacob is a villain. You don't meet Jacob to chapter 8. No, I think it's chapter 7. I think you meet Jacob chapter 7. You meet Jacob at chapter 7. That's a good thing. So the book, I treat the book like a 3-act play. One, the book is very plot driven with chapters, the prologue through 3. That's 4 chapters to me. Chapter 4 starts a whole different book in the same book. It does. It really does. It really does. And of course, if you come back to the virtual book, can somebody tell us when the second book tour is?
March 15th.
March 15th, we're gonna read some more chapters. I'm gonna read some more chapters. March 4th, yeah, we're gonna read some more chapters. Chapter 4 starts a different book, and then chapter 8 starts a different book. And chapter 12 and chapter 16 starts 2 different books. It will make sense when you get it. Same book, but it goes higher, higher, and higher. You meet Jacob, the villain, in chapter 7. I've always been a fan of villains. I've never really liked superheroes. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't have a problem with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, I do have a problem with the fact that they need better villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Villains that are actually blanking stuff up. By blanking, I didn't mean blank. We need more Thanoses. You get me? I mean, by blanking stuff all the way up. That's what we need in our villainy. And Jacob is a villain who is incredible. He is my favorite character. And I will tell you this, I kill anybody I want to in my books. As a matter of fact, if I find out you like a character, I might F that character up. That's the truth. That is the truth. That is the truth. Just the mere fact that you like that character. I've learned how to build lovable characters and then really mess them up right in front of you. Really mess them up. Yeah. I really do. I really do. All right, let's move forward now to the writing workshop part of this. Is anybody writing stories that you would like me to help you with? Let's go with Sandra first. Go ahead, Sandra.
Cat, I go against the grain. I've been taught some stuff.
That's
It's
good.
not my it's not my fault, but I am gonna do it and do it well.
Do it well. Do
So,
it well.
what I want to ask you is for you to rewind and then press play for one. What is it that connects you with the number 4 and the number 8 in your book? And what is it that has you rise above yourself in the secondary, in the third dimension of your life in this book?
Yeah, fair enough. 2 great questions. I never thought about the number 4, but you made me realize that one of these arms has a tattoo. I think it's this one that says something player faux real. Don't worry about it. And all my crew, the guys I grew up with. We all got the same tattoo with different attributes on it. So apparently 4 or 4 depends on where you grow up at. I don't know, some of y'all know what I'm talking about. It's 4 or 4, depending on where you grow up at. Okay, depending on where you grew up at. 4 apparently means something to me. Apparently it's been half. I think I got the tattoo. I think it's on this one, but I got on the long sleeve, so I can't show y'all. If I had on short sleeves, I'll show you. As far as crossing into dimensions, it was being real with my trauma on the book. The book has a lot of trauma in it. Yeah, it does. I was going to try to justify that, but I won't. The book deals with a lot of my trauma, a lot of it. And dealing with my trauma, Grace, I was able to make a better book. I was able to make a better book. I don't, the book has an extreme more gray area. It's not every main character in the book is bad. And the question is, do they remain bad? And they're trying their hardest not to be bad. But circumstances and situations keep making them bad. It's not fair. But that's the point of the book, because the point of the book is to continuously write about things that are not fair to people who didn't get a fair share at life. The main 2 characters were born and raised. Well, the main 2 heroes were born and raised in a secret ninja assassin cult. So they never had a chance. They never had a chance. They never had a chance at a fair life. They've been killing world's best killers as children. And they're trying to escape that life. But how many of you know life don't let you escape your past as easy as you would like it? Is there a witness out there? Is there, some of y'all got a past with money, and life still, you 45 years old, still can't escape your past with money. Credit store ain't never been a 700. Ain't never. You don't even know what that feel like. Don't even know what that is. Law ain't got that problem. Law hover around an 843. You know what I'm saying? But the rest of y'all, the rest of y'all know what I'm talking about. So good. Good. No. That's good. Good. Any more questions, Grace?
I believe that is all for right now.
When I believe I can fly. No, we don't fool with that Robin around here. My apologies. We don't fool with that Robin around here. My deepest apologies. But y'all get it though. Y'all get it. All right. Anybody want a quick answer question about the things you have written in your own books? How to write a villain, how to do anything of that nature? Because right here is where, well, you should have been start stealing. But right here is where you steal. Go ahead, Deanna.
Okay, in writing fiction,
Okay.
for those of us who have the active imagination and
Okay.
we can picture an entire world in our head, but don't know how to put that on paper,
Okay.
where does one start?
Dialogue. Your world must be revealed through dialogue. You can't, there's a couple of ways to reveal your world. You can reveal your world as an all-knowing narrator, but that's boring. That's what a novice would do. A novice would build their world through the all-knowing narrative. With narrator. What that means, Grace, is the narrator knows everything, knows what everybody's thinking. And we that's just boring. That's boring. That's what a novice, that's what a beginner writer would do. I'm not a beginner writer. I have 13, 14, 15 bestsellers. We just say 6. I have 15 bestsellers. I'm not a beginner writer. So when you want to expose your world, you can only expose your world through dialogue. So what you have to do before you start telling your characters about that world, you need to create tension. And your world needs to be exposed through that tension. I'm already teaching now. So how do you create tension? You create tension by having characters that don't see eye to eye. or having your hero ignorant. So when your hero is ignorant or your characters don't see eye to eye, both of these things create tension. Or when your hero is facing a villain, there's tension already in the midst. So when you have this, tension creates dialogue. And it's through the hero's ignorance. It's through Harry Potter's ignorance. What is Diagonal Alley? That the Weasleys have to explain to him about flue travel, traveling through fire in a chimney. It is through Harry Potter's ignorance that he doesn't know what a port key is, that the dialogue explains what a port key is. And then from a first person view, J.K. Rowling can then explain what Harry Potter feels after that dialogue. It is only through tension and dialogue can you reveal your world. How do you create tension? You create tension by having somebody disagree. Robert Brown, the writer of Da Vinci Code, teaches a master class, and in a masterclass on masterclass, the site. And in there, he talks about how he had his hero. What's the hero name of Da Vinci Code? Robert Langley. He has Robert Langley then meet the professor, right? The teacher. And he didn't want to ruin his hero's reputation by having him believing in the Holy Grail and the Priory of Sion and, you know, all the conspiracy theories about that and how Jesus had a baby and the baby was blah. I don't want to ruin too much of the movie because I didn't give you a spoiler alert and blah, blah, blah. So what he did is he created a professor, a teacher to create that tension. And if you pay attention to Robert Langley's responses the whole time, it's like, get out of here. That's not true, which then makes the professor disagree with him and explain more of the truth. All right. You can only reveal your world through tension. If you're afraid to create tension, if you're afraid to have opposing viewpoints, this is why you rarely see stubborn people write novels, because you can't create tension without opposing viewpoints. And stubborn people don't like opposing viewpoints. So they're employees instead of novelists. So you need tension to deliver your world. Cool? All right, somebody who is not Deanna, somebody who is not Grace, did that answer help you? You gotta talk back to me here. This is where we talk back. Not Grace.
Yes, it did. It helped me.
All right, then good. At least it helped one person.
Yeah.
Good. It helped.
Because I'm going to write a bestseller in the world. And I don't know how I'm going to do it, but what you just gave me is going to help me do it.
Well, no doubt.
So when I pull it all together, I'm gonna have it done.
And that's what it should be. That's what it should be. All right, everybody. Book giveaway. Who has not got the book yet? Let me hear from you. We'll do that at the end. I want to give away a book. Trey says she hasn't got the book yet. I want to give away the book. We're gonna see. We're gonna see how this works. Well, I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna share my whole desktop and see what kind of secret information I'm gonna reveal.
Wait, before you move over, Tyrell commented in the post that he doesn't have it yet either.
He don't have it yet either, huh? All right, so I got a bunch of chat GPT stuff up. Let me move this out the way. And then, all right, so we got all this.
Notes and everything all up.
I got everything.
Where's your social security number at, man?
I mean, I'm trying to get my social security up too.
Get the important stuff.
Get all this here. So what we're going to do now is we are going to listen to the book. My best friend and absolute favorite frequency, I believe she just popped on, is Tempest, and she just popped on. So I'm going to play the book. I'm gonna have it like this, but we're gonna play the book now. So we answered your questions, we did all your other stuff like that. And other than that, I think we're ready, Grace. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Prologue. 2 years ago, is this the mission that finally created World War III? The ghost had been asking himself this question for the last 90 minutes. His orders were simple. Do
Sir, I think
of the bird. The
Is it
there it
headhunters
is.
was the
Hold on.
very best of
That we
Army
here
Special
now.
Forces.
Yes,
They did not
we-
exist,
Oh.
nor did this mission. None of their missions ever existed. The headhunters were the government's dirty little secret, and Ashton, the ghost,
You
was
hear
its
it
number
now.
one.
There we go. Hold on. Bam. That's what happens when you live on TV, Grace. Okay, let me pull up my videos over here. Grace, nod to me if you like, nod vigorously if you can hear. Okay, vigorously nod. Okay, I need you to nod. Let's go now. And then bam.
Prologue. 2 years ago, is this the mission that finally created World War III? The ghost had been asking himself this question for the last 90 minutes.
It's muted.
Helicopter.
Oh,
holding off
that's
five of
why.
his closest
I
friends
can't
in the
mute.
belly of the
It's
bird.
back up.
The
Okay, yeah.
headhunters was
Yeah,
the very
got it.
best of Army Special Forces. They did not exist, nor did this mission. None of their missions ever existed. The headhunters were the government's dirty little secret, and Ashton, the ghost, was its number one killer. These days, I switched my mic. Can you still hear?
No.
No, sir.
Yeah, I shouldn't be doing all this stuff. All right, it was a perfect thingy until I did that. I switched my mic. I don't want to have my microphone in my ears for 30 minutes. I mean, my headphones. Prologue. 2 years ago, is this the mission that finally created World War III? The ghost had been asking himself this question for the last 90 minutes. His orders were simple. Do what you are told and don't ask questions. Ashton, known to his 6 men as the ghost, boarded the top secret stealth helicopter holding all 5 of his closest friends in the belly of the bird. The headhunters was the very best of Army Special Forces. They did not exist, nor did this mission. None of their missions ever existed. The headhunters were the government's dirty little secret, and Ashton, the ghost, was its number one killer. These days, he wondered why the Army even called him a soldier. The ghost had killed a lot of people under the veil of secrecy. It wasn't his job to know much about his mission. The United Cities wanted someone dead, so they had to die. It was as simple as that. Lately, the job had been weighing heavy on Ashton's consciousness. Every day, he would wake up and ask himself, well, do I want people to line up and thank me for when I am in my casket? And the only answer he could ever come up with was, thank you for being the world's best assassin. It had been this way since Ashton was a kid. He was born into this life and raised as a weapon. This is what evil people like me deserve, Ashton said as he boarded the chopper, giving a respectful nod to his brothers in arms. But day in and day out, the ghost began to wonder, will I ever live a life that I don't have to hurt people? Probably not. Ashton was an agent of death. It had been like that for 31 years. The top secret bird looked like a heavily modified Sikorsky A-60 variant. Statistically, the Ghost was one of the best Special Forces operatives to serve in the United States Army. His kill count ranked in the top 1%, and his IQ was 157, but each night he suffered. His kills were beginning to haunt him, and his dreams were getting heavier and heavier to hold. Looking up at his brothers in arms was always a surefire way to not think about the burden of his missions. These men were his family, and each would die for the other. With each assignment, it was usually too early to tell the correct time. In most missions, Ashton would sit in the belly of the bird and mentally go through his training to keep himself sharp and his mind off his painful dreams. But this mission was different. It came directly from the president of the United Cities of Sileria, which was very unusual. The chopper swooped low over flat fields on the approach to North Kangavar. The pilot was a pro. Tensions between Kangavar and the United Cities of Sileria were at an all-time high. Both countries were always on the brink of war, but this year was different. Everyone thought the two countries would go to war. Neither country liked one another. The Silurians saw the North Kangavarians as a violently suppressive regime crushing the rights of its people. Silurian-Kangavarian relations were steadily declining, with the Thomas Conrad administration adopting a much harder stance on the North Kangavar nuclear program from 2000 to 2008. Simultaneously, Kim Jong-sil was fiercely critical of Siluria's war against the Republic of Avranith and doubled down on his atomic efforts, announcing a successful test in 2006, a claim backed up by a South Kangavar Seismic Monitoring Center in 2006. Little did anyone know, but the Ghost was hanging up his boots in just a few weeks. He didn't intend to re-enlist. He was done killing. The thing he wanted most in life was to be a good person. So Ashton figured he would buy a house with all the money he had saved, and it was plenty, and hide away so violence would never find him again. Lately, Ashton found himself going to sleep tired and waking up the same way. He couldn't seem to get his life together. As usual, his life was in shambles. Ashton was never really good at anything but killing people and getting into trouble. The problem was he needed to improve at getting out of trouble. He was probably the world's best assassin, at least the powers that be thought so. Unfortunately, no one outside of the military liked him much. His best friend, Erin, was the closest person in his life, and he only met Erin because he was said to kill her when he was 12. She was 11. After Erin, he only had two other people he loved, his sister and his niece. Erin was also a governmental assassin, just like the Ghost. She grew up with Ashton and was raised as an assassin, too. Combat was the only time Ashton never got into trouble. He was good at being the Ghost, but what kind of life after the military could being a trained killer provide him? Living a simpler life and starting a business in Wakefield would be a good idea. After being in combat for over 3 decades, he figured someone else could fight. It wasn't hard to think about a war-free life when he was always staring at 6-man teams armed with automatic machine guns, grenades, and silenced pistols. Fantasy life was good, but it was hard to maintain those happy thoughts while he was conducting a final weapons check and twisting a silencer onto his government-issued pistol. He was beginning to question if his fantasy life in Wakefield would ever happen now. The pilot swooped low over the demilitarized zone, snapping the Ghost out of his fantasy and back onto his mission. It wasn't hard to see why North Kangavar and South Kangavar border was known as the most dangerous border in the world. To the north of the border, North Kangavar was one of the most oppressive and violent regimes on the planet. The border included heavily armed guards surrounded by barbed wire, landmines, and every imaginable defensive weapon known to man. In addition, he could see surface-to-air missile launchers and handheld RPGs readily accessible to the enemy at a moment's notice. There were troops stationed on both sides of the border, so close they could practically smell the gun oil on the enemy's weapons. The North and South Kangavarian border was a gasoline booby trap waiting for a spark. But unfortunately, the headhunters, the name of Ashton's special forces team, were being dropped right into the middle of it. Shit was about to get very real, the Ghost said out loud to himself under his breath. The headhunters specialized in deep reconnaissance missions. Trained in search, seizure, and raid activities, the team was escorting a North Kangavarian double agent into enemy territory with as little information as possible. The details were never Ashton's luxury, and risking his life on a need-to-know basis always bothered him. And at this present moment, he was very uneasy about the entire raid. Something didn't feel right. He didn't consider himself a clairvoyant to where he could see beyond the range of ordinary perception, but the Ghost was usually right when he felt uneasy about things. Right now, the thin Kangavarian man dressed in black, wearing stealth battle gear, sitting across the troop hole gave him an odd vibe. He didn't trust him, and he had never seen an outside asset in all his years in covert operations given this much internal access. But maybe the thin man wasn't as outside as he thought, or was it the Ghost who was actually on the outside? The thin Kangavarian man's wary eyes met his gaze for a moment before the Ghost looked away from his team members. The men were all dressed in the preferred black stealth uniforms. When not in war, the black BDUs are the preferred choice of special units personnel who want to stand out from their fellow service members in other units and push psychological warfare to the limit. Each man wore black clad armor, fatigues, and helmets mounted with 4 eyes night vision optics. They all carried suppressed M4S as well as suppressed M9S. Most of their missions were stealth recon or extraction missions. If you knew the head shooters were there, they didn't do their job right. Choosing his silenced pistol MK-22, the Ghost was ready for close combat and narrow fields of vision if needed. The MK-22 is a modified Smith & Wesson M39 pistol with a silencer. Most operators called it the Hush Puppy. Sergeant First Class Norman Bass, the middle-aged team lead, took his usual position, standing in front of the men in a position of authority. He began briefing the team on the final details of the top-secret mission they were about to undertake as the rotors silently thumped overhead. Bass was a no-nonsense leader. As he met each man's eyes with the stare that only a battle-tested Sergeant First Class could give, he began to talk. None of you assholes have my permission to die tonight. We all come back together. Don't do anything stupid. Expect resistance at every level of this mission. There will be blood. Remember your training. The Ghost wasn't sure if he liked Bass much, but he damn sure respected him. In and out. That is the plan. Bass interjected between Ashton's private thoughts. Bass valued rules and respect over anything else. SFC Bass continued, all right. Listen up, my favorite assholes. Everyone cracked a battle-hardened smile. Because we don't have much time, Bass said in a firm, authoritative voice. Our orders come directly from the top, from the commander-in-chief himself. President Andrew Shelton wants this done as cleanly and as quickly as possible. No witnesses because this mission does not exist. If you see someone, terminate them so don't see anyone. Base reached into his vest and pulled out 2 pictures. The first showed a beautiful young woman looking like she didn't have a care in the world. She was probably some pictogram influencer. This is Adeline Romani, or Lima 1, Base said. He passed the photo around to the men. As the picture circulated, Base held up the other image of a dark hair wearing a shirt with a skateboard on it. This is Caitlin Wheeler, or Lima 2. Caitlin was beautiful and seemed like the lawyer type. But the bottom line is this. These girls fucked up and are now in a North Kingaverian prison. And Base paused for a long time and stared into the eyes of each of the 6 men. Ashton paid attention to every detail and watched Base every move. But something wasn't right. Something was very off about this mission. Are about to drop you into that very prison. Our intel says they do not expect us coming, but you know how those intel boys get shit wrong all the time. To make the matter even more fucked up, we don't know anything about the area and there are no maps to help us. These North Kingaverians don't use the internet the way the rest of the world does. So since we have no intel for you to get around this shithole prison, this is why our friend, Base pointed to the thin Kingaverian man who met the ghost size a few moments before. Mr. Rain Khan Gu is here. He is our guide and defected from this very same prison. The photos reached the ghost and he studied the faces of the young women. They looked nice and sweet. He couldn't help but wonder how 2 girls who looked like we 2 vloggers who made a living asking people to like, share, and subscribe ended up in the North King of our prison. Eventually, the ghost passed the pictures to the next person, but only after looking at Rain Khan Gu again. Why was he here and what was he promised? This was a suicide mission, and the ghost knew it, so what would make Rain Khan Gu volunteer for it? Base pointed at the thin Kingaverian man across from the ghost. Khan Gu here used to work at the prison before he defected to South Kangavar. Every battle-ready eye turned to Khan Gu. Ashton wasn't one to judge. His past wasn't exemplary. He was raised by a secret society as an orphan and was one of the world's best assassins by the time he was 10, so he had no right to judge. But there was something about having a double agent in their midst that didn't sit right with him, and he wondered what the other team members were thinking. What's so special about these girls? Asked Staff Sergeant Peter Jacobs. They're Solarian citizens and college students who went to Pakistan for spring break and got kidnapped sometime during. They are our problem now, and this mission is political. Boys, a word of advice to all of you. Always get on the right side of a political mission. As important as we are expendable important. If anything goes wrong, we are on our own and will become the scapegoats. Hang on just a sec, Sarge, Jacobs said. Romani, are the girls related to John Romani, as in Senator John Romani? Base didn't answer, which was louder than the actual answer would have been, but the sergeant first class continued speaking. Now that you understand the shit we are in, one of these ladies may or may not be the daughter of one of the most powerful senators in our Congress. Ashton could guess how the rest of the story went. First, Romani pulled strings and blah, 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 and now they were sneaking into the country. And his favorite part, if caught, none of them or this mission ever existed. They would be on their own. This is not the time to argue about favor and the abuse of politics. We are the headhunters, and this is what the fuck we do, Base said with fierce authority. The ghost found his tone to be a bit inspirational. We follow orders, and we follow our chain of command. We do not ask questions. We do not complain. We must extract our targets and bring them safely back to post, Base said his following 3 words in a call and response cadence. Do you copy? The headhunters answered in unison, yes, Sarge. Base picked up where he left off. We have intel that Lima 1 and 2 are both being held here, he said with 100% confidence. There are 12 buildings in the compound, but our intel points right here. If those intelligence know-it-alls are wrong, the senator's daughter is dead, and so is her friend. If we do not execute our orders perfectly, they are both dead, and the president has a shitty day in the press in less than 4 hours. Kyangu has given us a rundown of the defenses. Intelligence says there are at least 30 men armed to the teeth, and they are not shy about pulling the trigger. We'll first remove the guard towers with the M240 to clear a path. Then we split up and head in. Base pointed at the ghost. Staff Sergeants Jason Malone, you're with me on Alpha Team. Kyangu will guide us. Everyone else, you're on Bravo Team with Staff Sergeant Jacobs as the lead. The ghost caught Malone's nervous gaze and tried to give him a reassuring smile. The kid had been on many missions with the headhunters, but nothing like this. Hell, none of them had ever done something this crazy. Maybe I should have stayed in the cult, Ashton thought. At least when you were raised to be an assassin in a cult, you knew who your enemies were. Base interrupted Ashton's private thoughts again. North King of our leadership has no idea they have kidnapped a person of importance yet. Otherwise, they would be dead or bait for some ungodly request on Fox News. The headhunters have never failed a mission or lost a man. Don't start new habits now. President Drake wants this right now and is not hearing no for an answer, which means speed is more important than stealth. Understood. Everyone nodded their heads in understanding. They will kill us all if we get caught, Kyangu said in broken English. Base jumped back in the conversation. The plan is to get the girls and get out as quickly as possible. Bravo team has the C4 and Jacobs will plan it. Sarge, Malone said, just curious, but what happens when the Supreme Leader finds out the United Cities was responsible for this raid? He won't, because there is no raid. We are not here. And when people see us here, we will make sure they can no longer see us here, Base said while shutting down the conversation and letting everyone know the rules of engagement are to kill on sight if seen. Prepare for radio silence, one of the pilots said over the comms. We're approaching the landing zone. Any questions? Base asked. The ghost listened to his heart thump in his chest, barely noticing the low whoosh of the stealth rotors that flew him into immediate danger as he flipped his optics into position. He had raised his black skull bandana, something he and Erin did before each mission. The bandana was black and had an even darker skull on it. The ghost was an agent of darkness. If you saw him coming, you were lying. A green hue view of the North King of our countryside stretched across Ashton's field of vision. In the distance, clustered at the base of the mountains, was their target. A small North King of our facility indicated the Kangavarians had no idea who they were holding hostage. Ashton hoped that meant fewer armed guards. There was no backup coming to help them. It was just the headhunters against a small army of North Kangavarians that could call in close air support at any moment. Those odds seemed fair, he thought to himself. However, the North Kangavarians may need a few more resources to stand against a six-man team, he thought to himself. They should call the Avengers. That would make even the odds. That Cardi's superior rum would hit the spot right now, the ghost thought to himself. The ghost, he thought about his call sign and nickname. It had been given to him because of his battlefield persona. No one ever saw him coming, and no one ever lived to talk about it. The ghost was a ruthless soldier of fortune because his country trained him to be one and consistently asked for it. No, Celeria demanded, Celeria never asked. If he wanted to make it out of this mission alive, he had to continue to be one of the most efficient special forces operators in recent history. One of the most common mistakes the media makes daily is confusing the terms special operations forces and special forces and making them interchangeable. The ghost started as an intelligence analyst attached to a special operations unit, but he proved himself. Things changed and the right people noticed him. Special operations, sometimes referred more accurately to as special operations forces, including a unit that falls under the United States Special Operations Command. Naval Special Warfare, Air Force Special Operations Command, Army Special Operations Command, and Marine Special Operations Command are all under this umbrella. Special Forces is not a generic term in the UCS military and refers to a specific unit. For example, the 1st Special Forces Regiment falls under the command of the Army Special Operations Command and includes the 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 10th, 19th, and 20th Special Forces groups. Ashton was in one of these, but his clearance is top secret and his unit has never existed. So the world will never know, and he can never discuss anything about his service. Base gave the order with a quick flash of his hand. 7.62 millimeters rounds sang in unison through the troop hole. Tracer rounds lanced into the cinder blocks as the pilot circled. Everything turned into rubble and stealth was no longer an option. Speed was the agenda and speed was likely to kill them. Fuck, the ghost said to himself. This is now a suicide mission. Do they even want us to come back alive? It was a serious thought in his mind and he made a mental note to be ready if someone tried to shoot him in the face. But for now, he had to stay alive until he got to the point. All chaos had erupted and a North Kangavarian soldier was shot in the throat before he could raise his weapon. He tumbled over the side and plummeted to the ground. Clear, Base said. Ashton and his unit brothers were lined up and ready to jump within seconds. As he scanned the terrain, a single hostile came out of the middle of a nearby building. Staff Sergeant Jacobs, the first operator out of the stealth chopper, took a knee and fired a shot. The soldier was down. A North Kangavarian flag waved on a flagpole nearby. Ashton moved to the next section of the grid. To his right was trouble. Armor-piercing rounds forced him to take cover. He was surprised he wasn't dead yet. Context, Malone said. Ashton took a knee ahead of them and fired on 2 North Kangavarian guards running out of the front door of the first building. Both soldiers dropped to the ground without further resistance. The crack of automatic gunfire sounded from the left. With a spinning move, the ghost hit the dirt, steadied his rifle, held his breath for the best trigger squeeze possible, and the soldier shooting at his head exploded in a dark red mist. There would be no open casket for that guy. Gunfire was coming at all 6 men from all directions. Securing himself behind a large boulder for cover, the ghost let off 6 rounds of gunfire. Each round entered the heads of 6 North Kangaroo soldiers. Each man fell to the ground without trying to break their falls. Ashton was not a mathematician, but more than 30 men were guarding this small prison. Retirement was just a few weeks away, and he didn't want to blow it by being stupid, arrogant, and sloppy. He waited a few moments for the gunfire to stop while Alpha and Bravo teams did their jobs in advance. The stealth chopper was circling, giving them air support and letting everyone soldier in all 12 buildings they saw earlier know their exact location. Rolling away from the boulder that was saving his life, the ghost lifted his NVGs to get a clear picture of who was trying to kill him, but he couldn't find the shooters. Bullets erupted from behind him and tore through the ground behind him. The sound of suppressed fire answered. Hostiles down, Bass said in his comms. Thanks, Sarge, the ghost responded. Just saving my favorite asshole. Nothing special about it, Bass said with his usual rough persona. An armor-piercing round almost took off Ashton's head. The shooter was somewhere in front of him. With a quick decision, the ghost rolled to the left as more shots pecked at the ground. He scanned the area where he had seen the muzzle flashes. He squeezed off a quick 3-round burst, followed by another, trying to force his enemy to fire again so that he could get a good lock on his location. One of the soldiers yelled in Kangavarian, and another replied with a shout. The butt of his Special Forces combat assault rifle, better known as the SCAR, tucked perfectly in the left soft meat of his chest and shoulder, the ghost fired 1 round. A green cloud of mist exploded in the NVGs. Crack. He fired another round. A second green mist jumped moments after the first. Targets down, he said into his comms. Combat was always emotionless for Ashton. He was a machine trained to take down enemy targets and complete his mission. Looking over one of his team members' shoulders at a 2-story building, he saw a flicker of motion in a window on the 2nd floor. Down below, a North Kangavarian guard missing an arm crawled out, still screaming. Now on Ashton's right shoulder, Jacobs took out 2 more tangos with perfect marksmanship. Unfortunately, everything was turning into a shit show. Advancing, a shot that narrowly missed Ashton's right ear hit Jacobs through his throat. Hot blood splattered over Ashton's face. More rounds rocked Jacobs' body before he even hit the dirt. He was dead before he hit the ground. The ghost felt a round whiz by his helmet as he crawled back to the rock for cover. Jacobs, he shouted at his friend, but there was no response. A fire raged through Ashton's veins and his killer instincts activated. He was going to kill everyone shooting. Grabbing his scar, he popped his helmet up to look for the bastard that had killed his friend. A muzzle flash came from the window, and a split second later, a round slammed into the rock, forcing the ghost to hide his head again. Jace, what the hell is happening back there? Bass said over the channel. They got Jacob Sarge. He is dead, and I'm pinned down. There's a sniper at. Another shot pushed him to the dirt. He lay on his back, staring at the sky, angry and waiting for his moment to attack. The ghost, diagnosed as a highly functioning sociopath, had only a limited range of emotions. Doubt and dread were not one of these emotions, but anger and revenge were. The green tracer rounds dancing in the sky came from the sniper that had him pinned down. There was a strange calm that settled over the ghost. He was patiently waiting for his moment to get revenge for Jacobs. I'm heading in, Bass said over the comms. He ordered Bravo to follow him into the building. Still pinned down, Ashton recognized there was no response to Jacobs being down, and Bass was entering the building instead of shooting the sniper. He was right about being expendable. The mission was to extract 2 high-value targets. It didn't matter who would make it out alive. Jumping to his feet, he shot a round of fire toward the sniper and then sprinted toward a larger boulder for cover and a better vantage. The ghost was fast, but not fast enough. Someone shot the ghost square in his chest. The jolt of the round threw his weapon from his hands and caused his vision to go blurry. Barely able to see, he reached for his gun, but the sniper fired off a round meant for his head. His vest had taken the brunt of the impact, and he was glad whoever shot him was not using armor-piercing rounds. Gasping for any breath that would go into his lungs, the ghost looked back at Jacob's ruined body. A shot pinged off the top of the boulder. Pulling his suppressed M9, he took a long breath and then pushed himself up, squeezing off 2 shots at the North Kangavarian sniper. There was a shout over the comms about an RPG, but the ghost continued firing. 6 rounds later, he found his target with vengeful satisfaction. It wasn't his usual 1-round 1-kill habit, but it got the job done. The ghost watched the sniper's body slump and fall into a green NVG hue of gore and midst. Crash. The nearby building exploded into pieces as an RPG projectile did its job to perfection. The shockwave from the blast hit the ghost so hard he felt it inside of his body. The shockwave tossed Ashton like a rag doll and sent him into an awkward backflip. He crash landed on something brutal and unforgiving. Intense pain rushed through his body and stars filled his vision. Old gospel hymns he used to sing in his grandmother's church echoed in his ears. The song lyrics, "I don't want no trouble at the river," danced over the old pipe organ and time slowed down instantly. He could feel the rush of blood screaming in his ears. Everything hurt. "Ghost, where the hell are you? Ghost," someone was calling over the comms, but the ghost couldn't make out the voice. Head pounding, he knew he had to move beyond the pain. Crash. Another explosion hit the prison compound, far enough away to where he only fell, rumbling through the ground. Several odd-shaped figures made their way toward him. The rest of the team had the high-value targets hiding behind them, both bruised but recognizable. It was time to get the hell out of harm's way. The stealth bird was hovering a few hundred feet away while Base remained behind. He pointed at Jacobs's body and yelled orders for his body to be retrieved. The ghost was glad to see that he was wrong about everyone being expendable. A shout came from behind him. "Wait," Kyangu shouted. "My brother." He ran over and grabbed Base's arm, tugging it and trying to drag him back to the prison block. Without warning, Sergeant First Class Base pulled his weapon and put a round between Kyangu's eyes. He turned toward the ghost. Knowing he was about to get shot just like the double agent, the ghost closed his eyes and accepted his fate. Base already had the drop on him. "Come on, Ghost. Let's get our brother's body back to safety." "I am sorry we couldn't save him," Base said over the comms for everyone to hear. Relieved, he opened his eyes and ran towards the bird. Looking back at the fallen double agent, he asked Brass he was never going to make it out here alive. Base, running in stride with the ghost, responded without taking his eyes off the bird. "The government doesn't want any witnesses. We have never been here. This mission never happened. Someone had to take the blame for this, and it couldn't be Uncle Sam. We were never here." The ghost looked at his 4 remaining brothers. His heart sank to his stomach. He looked at the mangled body of his friend, Jacobs, and leaned close enough to Jacobs' body to say something that only he could hear. "I hope heaven lets you hear me, my brother. I am sorry I got you killed. Everything I do hurts people. You will be the last one." Prologue. 2 years ago. Is this the mission that finally created? Ghost had been asking himself this question for the last 90 minutes. His orders were simple. Do what you are told.
That's it. All right. That's just the prologue.
Wow. Okay. That was good. That was good.
I forgot to tell you, this is not the audio book. The audio book comes out about April. No, it can't be May, April. If the book comes out in April, May, June. There we go. I got my months mixed up. May, June. And the audio book has one of the best audio narrators in the world that does character voices. That was just my AI voice. And I like to read fast. That's all. That's all it was. That's all it was. That was not the audiobook, so please do not. But I got something special for this next chapter. But please know, prologue, about 80 people are already dead. Because why not? This is an Antonio T. Smith Jr. book. And that sounds like exactly something that I would do, Grace. Kill 80-something people. North Kangavar is a fictional North Korea. United States of Solaria is a fictional United States of America, and there's more. Okay. Now what I'm getting ready to do is we're going to go and I'm going to use Grace and Deanna as volunteers. I already had this plan, and we're going to read chapter 1. Okay. We're going to read chapter 1. All right. Grace, I'm going to read the first paragraph. So I'm number 1, Grace, you're number 2, Deanna, you're number 3. Cool?
Cool.
All right. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you the layout. Okay, I'm going to show you the layout. Here's the layout right here. Can you see this? Is this, wait, bam. Is this big enough? Is that too much? Maybe that's big enough.
Maybe that perfect.
That's perfect.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to do this here. I'm going to read this, and then we're going to switch paragraphs, no matter how short that paragraph is. This is a paragraph, just so we're clear. All right. No matter the paragraph, no matter how short or long the paragraph is, this is not a paragraph. This is. Cool? All right. You got to give me your best voice. This is chapter 1, 2 years later, present day. The back of young Jerry's head throbbed. An gnawing pain ate at his neck. He couldn't move. His vision was failing.
and his neck was on fire. Young Jared kept trying to move, but it felt like he was trapped under a building. His left hand was free, but he was too weak to move it. It was as if his life force was leaving his body. Is this a bad dream? He thought to himself. Why can't I wake up? The pain was so intense. Suddenly the pain became so sharp that it felt like 1,000 ants were biting into the right side of his neck at the same time. I can't. Jared was in the middle of saying something, but it was pointless now. Young Jared died before he could finish the sentence.
Police Chief Aiden Jamar was investigating a missing persons case. He was praying to God to let him save his good friend, Truth Parker's 6-year-old son, Jared. Wakefield Police Department's Chief Aiden Jamar is a formidable figure, his muscular frame honed by years of rigorous training and experience on the force. He stands tall at 6 feet, commanding attention with his commanding presence. His dark black shoulder-length locks, with their striking blonde tips, are swept back with a single effortless gesture, revealing a handsome face with chiseled features and a square jaw. He is a man of contrast. His masculine exterior belies a pair of feminine eyes that seem to take in the world with a knowing gaze.
His midnight black police jacket is zipped up to his chin, emphasizing the sharp lines of his shoulders and the breadth of his chest. The blue shirt he wears underneath adds a touch of color to the otherwise somber ensemble, hinting at the depth of character beneath the uniform. He is a man of action, who embodies the spirit of the Wakefield Mountains that rise up behind him, snow-capped and statuesque. With a beautiful smile and a determined glint in his eye, Aiden Jamar is a force to be reckoned with.
Forcing his eyes away from the beautiful view, Aiden wheeled himself to face his ugly situation. 6-year-old Jared was probably dead.
The police chief had been doing the job long enough to know this first 48 hours of a missing persons case was the most important. The kid had been missing for 3 days now. The clock was ticking, and Aiden had to make a miracle happen now. His investigators have the best chance of following up on leads before people's memories fade. Missing persons who authorities believe may be vulnerable, such as children and those with a mental illness, are expedited because time is of the essence to get the word out to the public to look for them. There's a certain point after about a week or two where you have to think about the potential that the missing person is dead. And now it's a matter of trying to find their body and bring closure to the family and determine if you now have a homicide investigation. Every passing hour was killing Aiden inside. He had to keep everyone safe in his town. It was his job. After serving in the military, he became a police officer. He had seen too many lives taken in war. He wanted to be an agent of change and create peace.
His good friends, Truth and Jenny Parker, were missing their little boy. Aiden hated himself for recognizing that Jared wasn't old or tall enough to learn how to drive. But he was more than old enough to be kidnapped. The killer never asked for a ransom or set any demands, which terrified Aiden. He had never seen a kidnapping where the killer didn't want anything. Aiden felt the killer didn't want anything because his only plan was to kill Jared.
In science, the theory is essentially worthless if there's no way to test a hypothesis and prove it wrong. Aiden's father always taught him that when our minds remain closed, or when we keep opposing arguments out, our theories, misinformation, and lies always run into prevailing evidence. Aiden's father would lecture him daily about how tribal echo chambers get louder and louder with the sounds of the same misleading voices. And if we aren't willing to prove them wrong, injustice and mistruths will always prevail as the winner. Aiden tried to remember his father's teachings and pulled out all the stops to find Jared. He didn't want to be correct. He wanted to test his hypothesis no matter what. Jared deserved that much. Truth and Jenny counted on him to be diligent and not right.
Remembering these lessons, Aiden was ready to cross any depth to ensure he gave Jared his best effort. He knew within his heart that if he didn't hurry to find the boy, Wakefield would become a little bit darker with his death.
A crimson sunset illuminated the interior of the gray clouds drifting over the mountains. It was a Friday in early October, and the temperature was dropping. It had constantly been raining in the past few days, which was a clear sign of a cold winter on its way. Aiden had lived in Wakefield his entire life. His dad was a military intelligence officer for the USC Army and drilled into Aiden's integrity, leadership, and the law of attraction. So he was used to Wakefield's hot, mucky weather and the cold, rigid snow.
With each passing second, the likelihood of Jared's death increased significantly. Jared was last seen walking inside of Frank's Market, a small grocery store in town. Frank's store was commonly the midway stop for the after-school crowd as they walked home from school. Every available citizen of Wakefield was combing Cherry Hill, looking for signs of life or death. Then Aiden's cell phone vibrated in his pocket. It had been ringing all night. He was expecting to see a call from Mayor Julia Harris, but it was his wife, Dawn. She was waiting at home with their 16-year-old daughter, Lillian. "Hey, honey." Aiden swiped the screen as he brought the phone to his ear. "Have you eaten yet, Aiden?" Dawn asked. "Not yet, baby, but I will," pleaded Aiden. "You need to eat, baby, and you can't find anyone when you don't have enough energy to pay attention. I hid some power bars and energy drinks in your glove compartment. Go and get them," she said with a loving tone that only a wife could pull off during such a stressful time. "Thank you, baby," Aiden said. "I am walking to the car now."
"Where are you, Aiden?" Dawn asked. "I'm at the Harmony Park Trail waiting for Ashton and Aaron, and the weather is starting to look pretty bad. How are you? And how is Lillian?" "I'm fine. Lillian is good, but she keeps asking when you will find Jared." Lillian was Aiden's 16-year-old daughter. Her first job was babysitting Jared, so she was fully invested in Jared's safety. "When will you be home?" Dawn asked her husband. "It could be a while. Ashton is an hour late. You know how inconsistent he can be. I don't even know what condition he will be in when he gets here. Who knows?"
There was a long and uncomfortable pause, and Aiden knew precisely what it meant. His wife pieces things together. Dawn was one of the most intuitive women he knew. Every full moon, she practiced moonlight rituals and had an altar in their house for ancestor offerings, and she was an active listener. In addition to all her gifts and spiritual practices, she knew Aiden like the back of her hand. After 16 years of marriage, Aiden could read his wife like a book. "Go ahead and ask your uncomfortable question, baby," Aiden playfully asked his wife. It was good for him to get his mind off the case for a moment. "Do you trust Ashton and Aaron, honey? You keep having to arrest Ashton, who is not your biggest fan. He is a selfish troublemaker who only thinks about himself. He seems to have the worst luck on the planet and is a magnet for trouble. So no, I don't trust him or Aaron. However," and this is a big however, "he was vital to me finding Jeanette Copeland earlier this year. But this case feels different. Something is very off, and I need them both. Whatever they taught them in Special Forces cannot be duplicated. They are the only Special Forces trained people Wakefield has ever seen. So we need them, baby, for Jared's sake." Aiden sighed after he finished what he was saying. "Very true, baby," she said with a supportive tone. "I just want you to be safe, and I hope you both get along this time," she said. "We will, baby, I promise." "Well, As long as he has a damn good excuse for being an hour late for missing persons case, he grumbled. Relax, baby, his wife supported. It will all be perfect, and Aiden is not that selfish to be an hour late on a missing persons case. Thanks, baby, Aiden responded to his loving wife.
I forgot to tell you, ladies, it's going to be some cussing in here. Y'all can just say the F word or something. You're all right. Okay, you're all right. I got a tip that brought me to Cherry Hill tonight, but that's all I can say. People forget how dangerous Wakefield can be. Ain't that the truth? Don said. Okay, Grace?
Mr. Smith had already killed Jared and was close enough to Ashton and Aaron to kill them too. No one knew he was in town except his little brother Jacob. Smith's real targets were the Jace family, especially these two assholes he was following right now. Aaron wasn't technically family, but she was close enough to die right along with the lot of them.
The Ghost and Aaron were speeding down some dirt road in this shithole, godforsaken town. He wasn't worried about Ashton driving too fast for him to keep up because he had already attached a GPS tracker under the right passenger side wheel. These idiots had no idea they were being followed. I ought to kill both of you right now, Smith said grudgingly. I could have killed you 2 hours ago. Your face was in my crosshairs, you two son of a bitches, Smith said while telling the two lovebirds, or whatever they were. He let Ashton live 2 hours ago because Aaron couldn't be contained. She wouldn't let her guard down. It was like she knew someone was watching them. Mr. Smith knew deep down that Aaron was too much of a force to leave unchecked. She was gorgeous, and that is what made her so deadly. Everyone underestimated how much of an assassin Aaron was. She was ex-recon special forces and one of the world's deadliest killers by the time she was 10 years old. She was also the only person on the planet that could kill the great Ashton, the Ghost, Jace.
Smith was going to prove everyone wrong. He was going to kill the Ghost, and he was going to make sure the entire world knew who was the best. While his car was thrashing the dirt road ahead, Smith thought about using his sniper rifle right now and blowing Ashton's head into pieces with one shot. It would be an impressive shot, too. Two moving cars drove faster than the recommended speed on a twisting and winding road. Smith was about 30 car lengths behind them. He figured he would give it a shot. Grabbing his weapon from the passenger seat by the barrel, Smith lifted the butt of his rifle off the passenger side floor and attempted to take one hell of an impressive shot. He would be long gone before Aaron could even react. He aimed his rifle and squeezed the trigger.
Aiden's mind drifted to a heavy snow day in Wakefield when his daughter Lillian was 6 years old. Aiden, Don, and Lillian played in the snow until they couldn't feel their fingers. It was a day of snowball fights and laughter. Then, just as Aiden was getting lost in one of his favorite memories, Jared's investigation violently brought him back to reality. Baby, I have to go and find this kid. I will talk to you later, sexy, Aiden said softly to his wife. Okay, baby, I will see you when you get home, Dawn finished. Aiden hung up the phone and put it back into his pocket.
Aiden promised Truth he would bring Jared home, but after 2 hours in Afghanistan and 4 years of service as police chief, he knew things didn't always end up the way they did in the movies. Sometimes things never got better. Aiden was not an overly religious man, but he respected God. He didn't have a problem with religion either. At this point, he hoped every religion would help him find Jared.
Pushing his locks across his head, Aiden swallowed a hard swallow. He didn't want to admit to his wife he had called Ashton and Aaron out of desperation. The Ghost had developed bad habits and made deplorable choices since coming home from the army. But he and Aaron were the best. If anyone were to help Aiden find Jared, it would be them. He wasn't willing to lose the boy because of his pride. They were Aiden's last hope to find Jared.
Over the endless mountain horizon, The sky changed colors as the sun set and became a purple and pinkish background, as if a master painter was drawing in the sky for all to see. The clouds swallowed the final rays of light. The wind crashed against the trees like a symphony of magical symbols, and the birds sang their favorite nighttime songs of bliss. The wind gusted through the blanket buildings without a care in the world. The trees danced at its mercy. Tonight would have been one of the most beautiful autumn nights of the year. But instead, it was a night of panic. Jared was running out of time. Only 3 people in the world can help find him now. One was Aiden, chief of police. The other 2 were an hour late. Aiden let out a big sigh and continued to wait impatiently.
The rocks screamed under Ashton's moving tires as his 1989 Dodge Ram grew larger in Aiden's vision. He was an hour late, and he didn't try to be. Aaron was convinced someone was watching them. Besides, he didn't like Aiden, so he didn't care to explain anything. He was here, and Aiden should be happy. Ashton wasn't trying to cause trouble with Aiden, but he would be damned if he rolled over and took any of his bullshit today. There was a kid to save, and Aiden had better remember that.
The Dodge Ram raced up the path in a trail of dust and exhaust kicked into the air. Aiden looked like he wasn't amused, but Ashton didn't care. He had good reason to be late. His life was possibly in danger. He figured if the chief started his bullshit, he would do his best not to make a big deal out of it. At least not yet.
It was almost 6 o'clock, and a nasty storm was rolling in from the west. Ashton knew Aiden would be in a big hurry because the rain would wash away any evidence they may find. He wanted to find Jared too, and as quickly as the chief. But he didn't feel like being bullied because Aiden would be in a bad mood.
He cursed their luck and opened and reached into the glove compartment of the Dodge and grabbed 2 ponchos nicely rolled into 6-inch bundles. He took one for himself and handed the other to the passenger side seat, where Aaron held hers. It was going to be a long, cold, wet night. Pulling into the lot in front of Aiden, the Jeep was over 30 years old, but Ashton took good care of it. There wasn't a scratch on it. The engine was in top condition. The truck was fitted with oversized tires that could handle just about anything, a front grille guard, and a winch. Ashton had turned a 1989 Dodge Ram into a makeshift armored personnel carrier.
Chief, Ashton said, opening his door and stepping onto the asphalt. Aaron opened the passenger door and let herself out. Aaron never talked. She took a vow of silence many years ago, so she did most of her talking through facial expressions, and it was one of those beautiful faces God had ever made. Her skin was copper brown like a windfall autumn. She had dazzling champagne brown eyes and half-moon cheekbones. Her hair was coral black and crashed over her shoulders in waves. She had puffy, pouty lips, and they were blossom soft. And when she smiled, she revealed sparkling wizard white teeth that enhanced her succubus-like smile. She was curvaceous as an Olympic track and field sprinter and had a runway model-shaped waist. Everyone assumed Ashton and Aaron were lovers because of their chemistry and loyalty to one another, but Ashton never took any steps to make anything happen. Aiden was an honest and faithful man to his wife, but Ashton caught him sneaking a peek, running his eyes over her body, just like everyone else who saw her. Aaron was a rare beauty, and she was one of the deadliest humans alive, man or woman.
Ashton and Aaron were a perfect fit for each other. Both were extremely attractive, and both were recon special forces. They were inseparable. Aaron was the second female Army Green Beret ever, and her kill count was nearly as high as Ashton's. They did not get to serve in the same unit, but grew up together back in Clemenceau. They grew up around the swamps. Aaron had known Ashton and his sister since they were kids, and they were all thick as thieves since then. Ashton and Aaron were the Special Forces version of Bonnie and Clyde, except Aaron never got into trouble. She was always helping Ashton get out of it. That was her life. Ashton would get into trouble, and she was always there to ease his fall. She never complained and never wanted anything in return but for Ashton to grow into the good person he always wanted to be.
Aaron had taken a vow of silence because one day long ago, Aaron was. Nice truck, Aiden said, making an effort to sound friendly, interrupting Ashton's thoughts of Aaron's past. The ghost grinned and patted the hood. A ram-headed truck for a ram-headed man, said Ashton. Aaron face palmed. Thought you were working on being bull-headed, Aiden said with a laugh. I'm ram-headed now. So I'm making progress, Chief, asked Aaron. Aiden didn't respond. That was enough small talk.
Mr. Smith was watching all three of them in the binoculars. They were meeting to find Jared, but Jared was dead. About 20 minutes before, Smith did take a shot from his sniper rifle at the ghost while he was driving, but he missed. The bullet went wide left because in the nick of time, the road turned right and saved Ashton's life. The duo didn't even hear the shot over the sound of the off-road vehicle driving over the dirt.
For now, Smith figured he would have some fun and study his prey. He wanted to learn their movements and check for any weaknesses. Smith didn't know much about the cop, which excited him even more. He would study his future victims for as long as they were out here and then meet up with his brother Jacob, where they stashed Jared's body.
Rain is coming. Ashton's ears instantly became irritated at Aiden telling him something he could see for himself. I hope you both brought your Green Beret skills with you, Aiden said to them both. However, Ashton kept his original comment to himself and went with the milder, we never leave home without him, Chief.
Erin nodded her head up and down. Aiden swung his backpack around his shoulders. You do realize why I called you out here, right? Rummaging in the back of the Dodge, looking for more gear, Ashton snorted without turning around to address the chief. Yeah, Jared is missing, Chief. I don't need to be reminded. I want to find the kid, too. Aiden barely mustered up enough patience to ignore Ashton's evident frustration. I only say what I see, Aiden responded. Ashton wanted to punch him in the nose right there. For whatever reason, Aiden was always picking on Ashton and arresting him. The ghost was already tired of being around Aiden, and they hadn't even started looking for Jared yet.
The ghost and Aaron tightened their backpacks over their shoulders almost in unison. The ghost was a force to be reckoned with. His impressive physique honed through countless hours of training and discipline. His dark, chocolate brown skin was like a work of art, stretched taut over his Spartan-like muscles, and his crew cut framing his sharp features. But it was his eyes that truly revealed the depth of his character. Fierce and intelligent, always scanning his surroundings for potential threats.
Despite his intimidating smile, with its perfect white teeth and dimpled chin, was like a beacon in the darkness, drawing people in with his charm and warmth. He moved with the grace and power of a lion, his walk more of a prowl as he surveyed the room, and his voice commanded attention like the roll of thunder.
His mustache and well-groomed beard were a perfect complement to his striking features, and his opal-like eyes revealed the depths of his soul and his truest emotions. He exuded a devil-may-care attitude, his charismatic voice commanding attention like bottled thunder. At 33, he appeared nearly a decade younger, a testament to both his physical perfection and his unwavering spirit.
Lighting his cigar and taking a long pull from it, Ashton directed his voice towards Aiden. I had to cancel a date with the sweet little tourist to be here, Chief. So let's find this bastard and rescue Jared. Sorry about your date. I am sure you have another behind her, Aiden said. Ashton could tell the chief assumed he would have groves of women, but that wasn't a weakness Ashton had. Besides, he didn't trust people enough to let them get close. So he decided to ignore Aiden's assumption and let him keep talking. Jared was last seen at Frank's, and no one has seen him again. The only witnesses were a dozen kids, but no one can remember anything, Aiden briefed Ashton and Aaron.
Okay. I guess we better get moving before the storm hits us, Ashton suggested. Together, Ashton and Aaron began to walk in sync. When you finish that cigar, we'll get moving, Aiden firmly interrupted. Ashton slowly came to a stop. His adrenaline spiked. He knew the chief would start some of his bullshit and he was happy to end it. Is this where you try to arrest me, Chief? Because you only arrest me because I fucking let you. I wouldn't underestimate me if I were you, Ashton said in reply to Aiden's cigar comment. I don't need to arrest you, Ashton. The cigar tells our killer we are coming and can be smelled miles away. I thought you learned that in the military. Aiden quickly matched Ashton's wits. Ashton was about to respond when Aaron stepped between the two men, looked them both in the eye, and started looking for Jerry, sending a clear signal to both men.
Realizing that he and Aaron weren't the only deadly people with tracking skills tonight, Ashton eased up on the chief. Aiden was very efficient, highly military trained as well. Finally, he relented and gave up his fight for power. I was going to put it out. Stop worrying, Chief. The ghost returned to his truck, threw the cigar on the ground, and pulled his Dwayne Dieter's Master of Defense Close Combat Defense knives, his HK-416, his suppressed Glock 19, and his NVG goggles. Aaron already had all her weapons equipped. She had the same weapon payload as Ashton.
Ashton loved his close quarter combat knives, and he constantly carried two. Their custom blades are manufactured with a strap cutter, glass break prong, friction tape, and a custom seal containing a serial number on the blade's edge. The company made small and large versions of the knives. Both Ashton and Aaron preferred the larger edition.
During his career, Ashton mastered Krav Maga. It was his favorite form of defense fighting, and he spent much of his military career in close-quarter combat situations that tested those Krav Maga skills. Krav Maga is known as the world's most influential, dangerous, and deadly form of martial arts in the world. This combat style didn't care for rules, which is why you often didn't see it in the sports arenas. It had one mission: kill who was trying to kill you. Aaron was Leonardo da Vinci of hand-to-hand combat, and you never wanted to get into hand-to-hand combat with her. Ashton was the Albert Einstein of close combat knife combat. He was the most competent man to ever live with knives. No one ever lived to tell a different story if they met in battle. Ashton never went anywhere without his knives, and Aaron never lost a close quarters fight. Together, they were the gods of close quarters death.
Ashton and Aaron used the same weapons as interchangeable battle pieces on the battlefield. However, Ashton and Aaron updated their weapons of choice after their military careers. They got rid of their Army-issue pistols and transitioned to the Glock 19s with threaded barrels, M6 laser lights, high-capacity magazines, and a sound/flash suppressor. It shoots surgically and is nearly unmatched in close combat situations.
They each used the M6 Tactical Laser Illuminator, a gun-mounted tactical light integrated laser white light combo that offers uniquely integrated, high-power, visible flashlights combined with a high-intensity white light and a military-proven design. It is lightweight and only adds 3.7 ounces to a weapon. It is built to military specifications and features technology currently used by U.S. Special Operations. The M6 Illuminator could light up a dark room and have it as bright as a midday summer pool party.
Their HK-416 assault rifles were Aaron's favorite. She was a faster shot than Ashton, but their accuracy was the same. The piston operating system on this assault rifle significantly reduced malfunctions while increasing the life of parts. They kept their rifles tucked away in a Pelican impact-resistant cases full of 30-round magazines, modded with the EOTech optic, EXPS-20, mounted holographic sight, a sound flash suppressor, and an ANPEQ-2, infrared beam used for illuminating targets visible only by night vision goggles. The XPS-20 holographic sight was much easier to take on and off while maintaining zero, able to easily accept a magnifier because the buttons are on the side and comes with a fast standard reticle. The ANPQ-2 infrared target pointer illuminator aiming laser, ITPIAL, has built a reputation for service and reliability among U.S. warfighters. The ANPEQ-2A incorporates lessons learned from aiming lights in Desert Storm, other combat operations, extensive field evaluation, and production experience with over 50,000 U.S. military standard aiming lights. The result is a dual beam multifunction laser, which combines the utility and operational effectiveness of aiming lights and illuminator pointers in a single device.
The NVGs, the ANPVS-21, could be used in any aggressive special operations situation in all environments. Unlike other NVGs, these provided a smooth transition from dark to light. If someone flicks on the lights, the green images fade, and you see as if you were looking through clear goggles. The transparent lens also provide the most depth perception of a head-mounted night vision goggles.
Aiden shook his head in amazement as he looked at Ashton and Aaron. Ashton figured he saw what they looked like in full battle gear. Ashton and Aaron wore a dual knife leather holster that hid their knives behind their backs, but kept them ready to be thrown at any time. Ashton figured whatever the chief was thinking when he was looking at them, let's say this kid had to be somewhere in it.
Ashton nodded to Aaron. Aaron, you track and I'll take the middle. Chief, if you can stay with me in a rear or flanking position to watch our six, that would be great. Oh, and keep up. Aaron has superhuman lungs, Ashton said to the chief, but Aaron had already begun to do her tracking thing. Ashton chose Aaron to lead the hunt because she could run about 50 miles before stopping. For Aaron and Ashton, a path lit up, just like it always did for as long as they could remember. They were both excellent at tracking from when they were kids. Hunting food in the swamps of Clemenceau wasn't easy. Trails would get lost, plus they had to pay attention to signs of crocodiles with every step. Nevertheless, Aaron and Ashton could always see what others had missed, especially Aaron. They were raised as assassins and often used the darkness to take their advantage.
Ashton could tell Aaron had picked up on some tire tracks. She must have thought they were out of place in the area. Maybe they belonged to a vehicle with smaller tires, which wasn't typical for being this deep in the woods. Whatever the case was, Aaron took off with confidence, and she led the three-person rescue team as Ashton and Aiden crouched down behind her and followed her every movement. The hunt was on.
Aaron pointed towards Harmony Park. Aiden confidently took over and began to explain the plan. First, he wanted the team to head up to Harmony Park Trail to Sunset Lake, where the campers had reported seeing an F-150 truck acting mysteriously and then speeding off. Do you think this truck is still there? Ashton asked. We are about to find out, Aiden responded. All right then, Chief, Ashton said with a cocky grin. Let's get to work.
Major Ernest Maddox felt a smile coming on as the gates of United Cities of Solaria Air Force Special Operations Command, Airborne and Psychological Operations, UCSSOC, opened. An MP saluted as Ernest drove out onto the open road. Finally, he said. He cracked open one of his carbonated waters and took a long swig as he sped away. After months of training and working 6 days a week, he was utterly exhausted. No, exhausted was an understatement. He would need an excellent audiobook to keep him awake during the drive to Chesterfolk. Ernest loved crime, mystery, and thriller novels and listened to audiobooks the most. It felt like he was watching a movie, but a movie he got to create with his mind as he listened. His favorite books always included covert operations and post-apocalyptic settings and plots. He enjoyed reading these kinds of books because they kept his skills sharp. The covert operative military life was all he knew.
His nephew, Chase, was at basketball camp in Chesterfield, and Ernest had planned a surprise trip to visit the kid. As soon as Ernest pulled onto the highway, he clicked the phone symbol on his steering wheel. "Call Monique Maddox," he said. The ringtone chimed from the speakers. Ernest downed the rest of his carbonated water while waiting for his sister to pick up. In a few hours, he would be looking at the beautiful mountains of Chesterfield, listening to his nephew's story about basketball camp. There was indeed no place like it on earth. Even the tornadoes that happened way too much were a beautiful sight to behold. He couldn't think of any better way to enjoy his few precious days off than spending time with his only nephew, who was getting taller and taller by the day. Chase had a natural talent and had legitimate shot at making it into the National Basketball Association. He also wanted to be a spy when he got older. Ernest had never known a kid who wanted to be a spy.
A firm yet feminine voice emerged from the speakers. "Good evening, Major." Ernest smiled. "Good evening, Madam Vice President. How's DC?" "A political pissing match, per usual. How's my favorite big brother?" "I'm your only big brother," Ernest said, chuckling at their familiar sibling banter. "And I'm looking forward to spending some time with Chase. Thought I would call and ask if you had any special requests before I pick up Chase." Her voice grew serious. "Just one, Ernest. Don't rush him into becoming a spy like you did last time. He has plenty of time to do dangerous things and risk his life for his country. But for right now, he is my little boy, and I want him to enjoy this time while he can. You and I know you only get to be a kid once, and adulthood is a big trap." Ernest nodded his head in submission, as if she was sitting in the passenger seat next to see him. I promise. And for the record, you have a very persuasive son. He convinces me to rush him into being a spy, not the other way around. He is just as stubborn as his mother and equally as crafty as her with words. I think he could get elected to vice president, just like his mom, if someone were to give him a microphone. Monique laughed. "He's going to be so surprised when he sees you," she said joyfully.
It had been a long time since Ernest had heard his sister laugh. He was grateful because her husband was now a star on the wall in the CIA. He had been a star for a few years now. Monique's fallen husband was a good man. She worked hard not to let him only be a painful memory. There was another pause, longer than the first. "Things are getting bad in the world, big brother," she said. All trace of laughter had left her voice. "And things aren't good here in DC. Ernest, we've got major domestic problems, but my biggest fear is with North Kangavar. We have intercepted intel that they are planning to attack us on a large scale, and all reports point to a nuclear attack. President Shelton is tired of playing politics and has taken an aggressive stance against Kim Yang-Soo. Monique shared with her big brother. "I've heard the same thing, little sister. We are on high alert at UCS. But a nuclear attack, sis? That doesn't make sense. That would effectively destroy half the world and kill nearly 1 billion people. Yang-Soo has to know we would retaliate and wipe North Kangavar off the map," Ernest offered.
There's a lot of tension at the demilitarized zone, especially after news about the top secret raid leaked. Raid? I haven't heard anything. Yep, about 2 years ago. And that's why it's called top secret, silly, she said quietly. He knew better than to ask questions. "We are only telling key personnel, and you happen to be on the short list," Monique said. "Yeah, I have a few buddies stationed at the border. They have all been ready for an attack and on high alert," Ernest said with real concern. A loud sigh came from Monique's end of the line. She responded after her sigh. If Kim Yang-Soo II decides to invade the South, It would be sheer devastation and a South Kangavarian bloodbath. Now, a massacre. The North Kangavarian army is strong, fierce, and over 1 million strong.
The sound of rustling came from Monique's line. Hold on a second, she said. Ernest twisted open another bottle of his favorite carbonated water as he waited. Before he could get the bottle to his lips, Monique returned to the phone. I'm sorry, Ernest, but I have to cut this short. Everyone here is acting more panicked than usual, so I need to see what is happening. If it is as bad as they are making it seem, you will get a call within a few minutes. I'll connect with you tomorrow, okay? Roger that. Love you, sis. Love you too, and thanks again for doing this. Means a lot to Chase and me. You bet. Stay safe and talk to you soon.
He hung up and began going through his smartphone for the next audiobook he would devour for the long drive. It was good to chat with his sister, something that seemed to happen less and less now since she is being elected vice president and he had been promoted to major. The radio interrupted his search for an audiobook. Tonight, we bring you a new report from the Kangavarian Peninsula. Kim Yang-soo II has released a statement that he will retaliate against the United Cities of Celeria for their open quote, actions of betrayal and murder they hid for 2 years, end quote.
Jesus. Okay, we got it. Jesus, Ernest said. Monique was right. Things were crazy over in Kangavar. And what did he mean by retaliating? What the hell have we done? He had a top secret security clearance and he didn't know, which made him worry about how bad this was. Whatever it had to be so top secret that it was causing a North Kangavarian retaliation. He wondered exactly how far Kim Yang-soo II was willing to go. North Kangavar always threatened to hit the United Cities with a nuke, but there was no real proof they had the capability.
Ernest told himself this was another one of Kim Yang-soo II's scare tactics. He went to switch the station when his Bluetooth buzzed. His blood began to pump as if he was in combat when he saw it was Colonel McKay. His sister just told him, if it is as bad as they are making it seem, you will be getting a call within a few minutes. Clicking the call button, he prepared for bad news as he said, "This is Major Maddox, sir." The colonel didn't offer any small talk. "Major, wherever you are, I need you to turn back around as quickly as possible. We have a top secret mission and I need your airborne, air assault, and fighter pilot skills ASAP. This mission will be dangerous, son. Do you copy?" "Roger that, Colonel. I have a good copy and I will be at your office in 15 mics, sir." "Outstanding, Major. See you then." The call disconnected without delay, and Ernest hoped this was all just a precaution and not the real thing. Either way, his weekend getaway with Chase was ruined, and now all he could do was think about taking a leap before he was stuck thousands of feet in the air, the combat pilot gear in a bird with no toilets.
All right, that's the end of that chapter. Yes, and that's the end of tonight. Just give it a few.
No, I'm just getting my popcorn. Oh my God.
Yippee!
You got to come back on March 15th, I think. March 15th. March 15th, we'll try to squeeze in chapter 2 and chapter 3. Now, the prologue is the only book in the chapter written from one point of view, and the only book in the chapter, it sets up the 4 books. Some fun facts there. I cannot confirm or deny if the prologue in chapter 1 closely resemble my 2001 and 2004 military career. I cannot confirm or deny that. I can just tell you that Operation Enduring Freedom and I forget the other operation are declassified now, and they may have landed in a book called The United Cities of Celeria. I can't confirm or deny that, Law. I can just tell you
Oh my God.
that there's a lot of detail in that, and with weapons and stuff to just be made up. There's a lot of detail going on there as well. To highlight that, I guess Trinace won the book giveaway as we.
Yay!
Yes. So Trinace, you need to text to me the physical address that you want the book to go to, P.O. Box, whatever. That has nothing to do with me. It's wherever you want your book to go to. It can even go to Law House. He rich. So you know what I'm saying. He there you go. They can go to his house, however that may work. So we start off, for those of you, we're getting ready to end, but we start out, we are ending. We was talking about a bunch of stuff, and Grace asked a really good question why I wrote this book. Chapter 8, you will meet my real life mother and my real life father, but I fictionalized them. My mother and father in this book are white. I made them white. And fun fact, I actually modeled them after Phil and Susan. That's the truth. But I gave them black attitudes. I really did. I'm not joking. It's not a joke. I promise. So when you see them, I want you to think about Phil and Susan, except for Mama Linda is a knife carrying. I don't know if Susan carry a knife around there, maybe for the alligators and the crocodiles, maybe. But in the book, Mama Linda's a motor scooter. You hear me, Janet? She's something else. She is something else. You meet her in chapter 8. I can't tell you under which circumstances, but that came out in Grace's question about why did I write the book and et cetera, et cetera.
Dr. Sugar asked, will we have t-shirts? I said, I don't know. I'll ask.
We will have t-shirts. We will have badges. Almost every single thing in the book will be a merchandise. And you can this was actually inspired by Tempest. Tempest for Christmas. I mean, I think it was Christmas. One of the greatest things possible, and I just love it to death. It was this Harry Potter gear. And I got a briefcase, all sorts of stuff. It's actually one of my prized possessions. It was so prized that when I buried my mother, I had on the Harry Potter scarf the whole time. I didn't even take it off. So think about that, think about not having a mother for 41 years, getting it for 56 days. And then if you know me, I'm extremely intentional. So I don't do anything by accident. So I said, how do I want to send her off? And it was with a few vibrations that were dear to me, right? And Tempest was one of those dear to me vibrations. Nevertheless, you're gonna have all sorts of stuff. You haven't heard them yet. There's some things in the book that you're gonna have. I can't tell you. If I tell you, then I kind of ruined the book. But there are some things in the book that are prominent that are all from crest to bandanas, all sorts of stuff, but I just really can't tell you until you get that far in the book. Book is 24 chapters. The book ends with the book ends with chapter 1 of Kofi Sa series. So chapter 1 of Kofi Sa series. So if you don't know about that, that is my Wizarding World. So the next book, so the United Cities of Solarian has a Solarian verse. It has over 45 books in the universe. They do not come out in order, but the reader can see how many years or something like that. And on my website, you would get the chronological order and the release order of all these books. And Kofi Sa comes out next. And the book ends with the opening chapter of the Kofi Sa series. And it also ends with the prologue of book 2 of this book. So when you get this book, you'll be introduced to 2 more books. The last 2 chapters are the prologue to United Cities of Solaria Part 2 and the Kofi Sa book as well. And they are all completely done. How much for that audio? As I do not have the files yet, about $19.99. Oh, yes, ain't nobody get the files because Antonio hired a professional. I ain't got the files. I ain't got the files. But the book, the The audiobook is one of the world's greatest narrators. He does multiple character voices. It's going to cost, it costs about $9,000 just to do the audiobook. Just to do the audiobook. So just know, but I'm putting a lot of faith and trust, not only in this series, but in the audiobook, because people like me love to consume books like this over audio. Right? Even with my fast reading AI voice, I make sure my AI voice is fast. And I turn my voice on artificial intelligence. Even that was
stories. Yeah, I like to hear rather than
absolutely. So it's, you know, I'm looking to, you know, pre-sale like 10,000 audio copies of the book itself. But I just want to address one of the earlier questions. Dialogue. Here's what you found out. You found out that Ashton and Aiden don't like each other. As a matter of fact, I quote, "He better not do that shit today." Okay. You found out that Aaron does not talk. And you also found out that Aaron has this sixth sense about her. In the prologue, you found out that Ashton wants to retire. He is one of the world's greatest special forces. And you also found out that Ashton straight up told the chief of police, "Man, I let you arrest me, player. Don't get it twisted." Like, do not get it twisted. Ashton is not afraid, and Ashton is not trying to cause no problems, but he ain't backing down from a single one of them. Not a one. He ain't got no time for no argument. He's not trying to explain himself. And let's see, you heard that Chase is a basketball star that wants to be a spy, and that his brother is a major in psychological operations and also as a pilot. Well, I don't think you found out he's a pilot yet, but if you didn't, you found out. No, you do find out he's a pilot, because he said they want to be in the air having to use the restroom. 40,000 feet with no toilets. He did say that. Right? So only a pilot goes 40,000 feet in the air unless you got some really good weed. And then that'll put you 40,000 feet in the air too. You know, so there you go. That'll put you 40,000 feet in the air as well. And you found out that his sister is the vice president of the entire United Cities of Solaria. You found out that North Kangavar is pissed off because what happened in the prologue. You also find out that there's the demilitarized zone. That's a real thing in the world today, demilitarized zone. That's the land between North Korea and South Korea. You find that out. And you find out a bunch of other things that I can't recall right now. And to answer whoever question, I think it was Deanna's question earlier, that's through dialogue. The tension, because Aiden and Ashton don't like each other, you learn out a lot about them. And one of the most powerful things I did through dialogue is you get introduced to our villain. Chapter 1 opens up with killing a 6-year-old. And the villain does that immediately. The first 4 sentences of the book is the villain saying, "F this little kid, he got to die." And you're looking at that narration through the villain's eyes. So the whole time Aiden is looking for Jared, the villain is telling you through dialogue, "Oh, he dead. Let me go ahead and snoop on him because he dead. He's as good as dead. I know he dead. I still smell like him. He dead." So whoever asked that question earlier, it is through tension can you reveal your world. Without that dialogue, without that tension, you can't get that conversation. Last thing I'll say about this, and I'll get a law, there's no omniscient narrator narrating this. All the narration is coming through the very limited point of view of each character that has the most to lose. But we'll come back to that a later time. Go ahead, Law.
I was going to ask, is Aiden, Ashton, Aaron on purpose?
Those are my actual kids. Actually, every single person that's near and dear to me in my life. Tempest is in the book. Her name has changed. Every single person is in the book. Every single person is in the book. Phil and Susan are my parents. which kind of makes sense. But it's like you're there, but then you got this whole. Sometimes I change your gender. Sometimes I change. Like I made Phil and Susan white. I made my parents white. So I made Phil and Susan with my parents' black attitudes, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So, there's a bunch of merging and meshing going on. But yes, Ashton, Aaron, and Aiden, they're all very intentional. And my kids read the book. They love it. They are so gung-ho about their characters that when they log on Hulu, they got their names. Aiden walks around himself, calling himself the chief. And Ashton walks around here calling himself the ghost, and Aaron runs the house anyway, so she don't give a damn. She can call herself whatever she want to call herself. The house belongs to her. She don't care. She don't care at all. She gonna do. Y'all gonna do what she say. Y'all gonna do. Just to give you an idea, here is. I'm gonna try to do this at once. Give me 60 to 90 seconds, and I'll be wrapping up. 1, 2, 3. So every character you met so far is I messed up. Nope. 1, 2, 3. For most of the characters, yes, 1 through right there. And then there's one more. I'm looking. It's Grace's fault. She tripping. It's Grace's fault. It is your fault, Grace. Do better, and it won't.
My bad.
Do better and it won't be your fault. But I'm missing one. I'll find you the other guy here in a second. Here is Ashton. Here is Aaron. That's what she looks like. That's kind of why him was like, damn, she fine, right? You know what I'm saying? But he fine too. Yeah, he fine too. Look at him. Look at him, Law. That's Aiden. Look at him.
I couldn't unmute fast enough. Hey.
So there's Ashton, there's Aaron, there's Aiden, and then Vice President.
Like he not finished his training.
he needs to train.
Like he needs some more training.
Some more training, huh? There is Vice President.
Don't worry, I'm here.
Yeah. I know that's right, Law. There is Vice President, and it is one more, Ernest. Ernest, you'll find out later. I wish I would show you as a bombshell, but Ernest, who is a major character, is as a matter of fact, this will be fun if you just wait. I don't know, a minute or so. I'll go find Ernest for you. But he's a shock. He's a shock. There's a bunch of people in the book that is there. Grace, Deanna, do you have any questions you wanted to ask while I'm stalling for time to show the characters so y'all can see them?
Oh no, I'm waiting on this next chapter, man. Because
wait. Got to come back March 15th. That's suspense. That's how suspense is created. Come back March 15th, and I will give you the next chapter. As is my custom, my books start off fast. They start off fast because I like books that start off fast. I'm not a fan of books that take a while to build. I don't mind slow burn, but at the same time, if the books I typically buy are fast burning. Can we just unmute our mics and clap for Melissa, please, for publishing Said Greatness?
Hey, Melissa.
Yes.
Tree Press in the building, doing great things, and we are grateful for Tree Press.
Will the characters appear in the book? Like at the end of the
not
chapter?
their pictures though. No, not their pictures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not their pictures. We ain't want to drive up print costs like that. You understand? You know what I'm saying? Unless we gotta wait for Trinace need to give us some money to drive up print costs like that. She ain't sponsored me yet. Whenever she sponsored me, we'll drive up that print cost for sure. So my last words of this here, I'm having a blast. Books are done. Kofi's keep that out. Don't worry about it. I was gonna say too much. Just know that I think it's like 5 or 6, maybe 7 books coming out this year. They're all in one universe and they're all interchangeable. I'm telling one story that takes me about 45, 50 books just to tell. And I reserve the right to kill anybody that I desire to kill. But just know, if you like a character, Trinace, I might kill him. That is, I might kill him. You understand? I reserve that right. I reserve that right. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you all next time. Trinace, text that and we'll order your book tonight and have it shipped. No, pre-ordered to you, and then Melissa would ship it to you post haste. All right. Well, you can plan better. You can dominate. Thank you all so much. Don't want to hold you. We are grateful for you. Thank you for being here. It means a lot. We'll see you all next time. Love you, everybody.
Love you.
Love you
Love you
more.
more.
Love you
Great
more.
job.
Love you
Great job.
more.
Have a good one.